Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to A Gentleman's Life. Sam here, bringing another video to you today. And this one is going to be an unboxing and then also inspired by a viewer email I received. Today I am wearing the Seamaster. It's been a few days since I put the Seamaster on, and I'm enjoying the lovely blue on my wrist. But without further ado, let me go first to unboxing, and then we'll go on to discuss just kind of my thoughts. Let's switch it around. So here we are with the unboxing of the Festina. As you can see, it comes in a box with the Tour de France labeling on it because it's part of the Chrono Bike series, as mentioned. I ordered it from Masters in Time, which is in the Netherlands. But without further ado, let's open it up. So I've already opened this. Got this about a week ago. I've been wearing it a little bit, give you my thoughts. So there's a little tab, and your typical, guarantee booklet, and instruction booklet, and then the watch comes in this. Hold on a second, let me get this out of the box. So here you can see the case once again with the Festina logo, the Tour de France marking, and if you can see here, official timekeeper Tour de France. So they have the packaging showcasing it as such, and we'll remove the top off. And there we go. You can see again the Festina and Tour de France. Now obviously it doesn't come this loose on here. I just put it on here quickly because of the bracelet adjustment. Pull that out of there. Here you can see the watch. Relatively large, 44 millimeter chronograph. Pretty big and brash, really. Not my normal thing, but I'm calling this kind of like a guilty pleasure watch. I find it great when you can mix different things you love together. So I love watches. I love the sport of cycling. So the fact that I can mix them together with a watch is really fun to me. So Festina. Festina was a Swiss watch company founded in the first decade of the 20th century. In the 1980s, however, they were bought by a Spanish businessman who then started the Festina Group because he already owned Lotus watches, and he's since bought another one or two watch companies. And starting in the 1990s, or 1980s, excuse me, late, like 89, I believe, started sponsoring a professional cycling team, also became the official timekeeper of the Tour de France, which they still are, and that is kind of adjusted for them, not how they do business, but what their focus is. So the Festina watches, for the most part, are quartz watches with a focus on the visual design. This series, called the Chrono Bike, is a series of sport chronographs that are specifically styled to kind of evoke cycling as a sport and activity. And for the most part, Festina is utilizing Miyota quartz movements. I think they do this to really allow them to focus on the visual design of the watches and do that well. And as a great example, for a couple $100 quartz watch, the attention to detail in the design is something you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Quality-wise, I put this kind of the same to me as your entry-level Seiko and Citizen solar and quartz watches, as far as the quality. So you can see quite a bit of an attention to detail. The bezel really, design-wise, to me, evokes the thoughts of a chainring on a bicycle. The front chainring specifically is what I'm thinking of, where the chain kind connects to the crank arms and where you pedal. And in the dial, I really see with the hour markers kind of like the spokes of a bicycle in this case, really interesting. And it has a nice layered and textured design. I don't know if you can tell, but the sub-dials and the circle under the hour marker are all textured. The date window is nicely framed. You have kind of a layered, textured feel to it. Really nice. So that I like. I mean, let me start it moving, and I can just leave it moving throughout the video. Also, the pushers, to me, are really interesting in design and shape. They really remind me of the cleats on the bottom of cycling shoes that clip you into your pedals with their shape. I just think that's another nice touch that brings back the cycling feel. Also, the cycling feel to me is reminiscent of the bracelet, which, as you can see on the middle here, has what looks like the top of a bicycle chain. So if you look down through a bicycle chain from a top view, kind of looks like the middle of this bracelet, really. And I think that's really neat how they've done that. So to me, this really evokes the cycling concept. You can see the case back as well. Also has that kind of chainring motif on it, and nicely engraved in it. So you really get this feeling of that's what this this series is meant to bring, which it does well. The coloring wise, I particularly bought the Festina this year because of the design. I thought it was subdued enough and not too outrageous and crazy. So I got this black or dark gray with the yellow accents that kind of bring what I think is the hint of the yellow jersey from the overall winner of the Tour de France every year. So a bit about the Chrono Bike series as a whole. The Chrono Bike series is updated once a year stylistically. They change it up once a year to coincide with the Tour de France every year. So shortly before the Tour, your new Chrono Bike series comes out every year. And this 2015 model is the one I decided to get. So that is my 2015 Festina Chrono Bike. And now I'll just go back and we'll discuss a little bit about Festina as a whole. So we're back, everyone. And I thought I'd go through a bit of history about Festina and then the Festina Group, and just kind of a general idea of why it is that I bought a Festina Chrono Bike. So some interesting things with Festina's history. As I mentioned, Festina started making watches in 1902 in Switzerland. However, in the early to mid 80s, bought by a Spaniard businessman who had already bought Lotus watches. So Festina and Lotus are both kind of cheaper entry-level sports watches, and not really what I would call a luxury watch brand. And that kind of created a conglomeration. And then later on, also Festina Group bought Candino watches, which is still not really a luxury watch brand, but more one step up, I guess you could say, from Festina and even below that, Lotus. So looking at, the Chrono Bike, what you really get a gist of is this is meant, to compete in Europe, really, I think, and the United States a little bit, but really in Europe specifically, with your Seiko and Citizen and Japanese quartz, entry-level quartz watches. This is supposed to retail for right around $300. I got it for less than that. But, it uses a Miyota chronograph quartz movement. However, Festina does, at least with design, pay attention to details reasonably well. So, in your bracelet and your case and your dial, the attention to detail and design is really nice. You're still dealing with a little bit a bracelet rattle you'd rather not deal with, And the clasp, although double locking mechanism, especially the clasp arms, that feels cheap. But for a $200 watch, that's not surprising. I would expect any entry-level Seiko 5 or an Invicta or Citizen quartz watches to not feel much different, really. So no surprises there. But Festina isn't meant to be a luxury watch brand. And I don't think they're trying to be honest. I think they're just trying to make interesting visual designs while keeping the price down by using Japanese quartz movements, specifically Miyota's. Interesting thing, however, is the Festina Group also owns Soprod, which is one of the, I'd say, 3 main Swiss movement manufacturers. So you have Sellita, and you have Etta, and then you have Soprod. And Soprod is owned by the Festina Group. Granted, Festina watches don't use any Soprod movements. They would not be priced in that bracket. A lot of Soprod watches with Soprod movements, are going to run you much closer to €1,000. So you're not going to find one in a Festina watch. But I thought it was interesting that the brand, or the group, the watch group, Festina Group, owns Soprod. And it's an interesting, I guess, thing to have in the mix there. In that they have their own movement manufacturer, should they at some point choose, to spread that across more of their own watches. Because Soprod makes both Swiss automatic and Swiss quartz movements. So should they choose to at some point, they could start bringing those movements to their lower range of watches, which I find to be very interesting. So just an interesting take. So why did I get the Festina Chrono Bike? Well, really, for me, it's just about being able to mix 2 passions together. My passion for watches and my passion for cycling. Horologically speaking, there's no reason why I would have bought the Festina Chrono Bike. But the design is not hideous, at least from my perspective. And I love the sport of cycling, so the opportunity to mix the love of cycling and the love of the watches together was enough of a reason for me to purchase a Festina Chrono Bike once one of the annual design updates came out with a version that I, liked the design of, which was 2015. I felt like, when you look at the dial for 2015, I felt like I could go for that. I liked that one. Because some previous years have just not at all been for me. Way too outlandish and crazy. So this one works for me. And that is why I purchased the Festina Chrono Bike. I figure at, $200 to $300, why not? So that's kind of why I did it. Overall, I think the pieces are not that bad. I mean, you can buy, decent automatic watches for that money. Your Seiko Monster, for example. You can buy the Seiko Monster for the same money you'll pay for this and get a nice automatic movement in it. So it just depends what you're looking for. But as far as quality goes, this is not a bad watch. It's not a luxury timepiece. Simple as that. But I already have plenty of those, I have my Omega and my Tudor, and I have, my Zenith and Christopher Ward. So something, cheap and a little bit different that can mix 2 different passions of mine together seemed worth my time. Because I'm not looking to buy my next luxury timepiece right away, That's at least a couple years away, probably. So I thought this was kind of a nice random out there thing to just have and wear every now and then. And so that's why I have this. And I am pretty much starting to ramble now. I'll finish off with just a couple of things. So I wanted to thank all new subscribers. I've now broken the 300 subscriber barrier. Crazy to think that there's more than 300 people that like to listen to me ramble on about who knows what, whether it's watches or cycling or travel or food or whatever takes my fancy at the time. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully you'll continue to enjoy the content I produce. So I hope you all enjoyed this little bit of a random video on the Festina Chrono Bike and just Festina watches in general. A bit of a departure really, because most of my videos have been on automatic pieces and luxury pieces, but gotta change it up every now and then, and I thought this was a great opportunity to do so. So thanks for watching, and until next time.